Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh, thanks to Empire Properties. And thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get your stuff to the cloud. More importantly, save money on print cost by moving to the cloud. That's a sneaky, sneaky killer on your budget. So contact copiers-plus.com today for your free print assessment. Joe, we are in the thick of it. It is October. There is, for real, a lot to get into today. So let's start with the NFL, the Carolina Panthers, some quick hits on some other NFL items. Then we'll get into triangle football before blowing it up to larger national college football discussions. And then we will close it out with a marathon session of the OG Sports Phone. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the OG Sports Phone was active on Saturday for very obvious reasons. So let's start with the Carolina Panthers. As best as I can describe to the Carolina Panthers, they are back to square one, ladies and gentlemen. We understood that the defense was going to be bad. They keep getting hurt on the defensive side of the ball, so that's just compounding what was already a deficiency for the Carolina Panthers going into the season. So you need your offense to step up, and that's probably the biggest takeaway that I had from this game, in that for as much positive momentum we've seen on the offensive side of the ball, even in the loss to the Bengals, where they drove the ball, they just couldn't close out those early drives to potentially change the tenor of that game. They had zero good offensively against the Chicago Bears. And the Bears have a good defense, but still.
It's not true. Chuba Hubbard had 97 yards and a touchdown. They had a 7-0 lead.
Trade him.
Tell me something good.
Trade him.
Tell me something good.
Was it Chase when we would talk about the Carolina Hurricanes? He would always tweet at us, send him to Charlotte.
Potentially.
I think it was Chase. I could be mistaking that. Send him to Charlotte or call him up from Charlotte. That's my new thing now for the Carolina Panthers. Just trade him. Just trade him.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing for the Carolina Panthers. They've been fucking awful in the first half of the football games. And I don't know there's any way around this. You could call it injuries. You could call it bad coaching. You could call it lack of a fucking talent.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They've been outscored 105 and to 45 in all 5 games this year in the first half. They've been particularly bad in the first quarter, 44-14. If you take out the one game that they won in, they've been outscored 98-24 in the first half.
Yeah, and the further we get away from that Raiders game, hey, credit for beating the Raiders, because that was one of your lone opportunities, but the Raiders have certainly fallen off here.
So there's no magic here.
No, there's not.
Okay, their defense is bad. That's not what Sunday was about, though. Sunday was a kick in the nuts. Okay. You got to sit there and Caleb Williams had the best game of his career. Totally predictable. The one that has to piss you off is DJ Moore.
Yes.
Again, right? Sometimes you are forced to relitigate how stupid the trade was, but you gave up the primary asset that you got in the Christian McCaffrey trade with the 49ers. You gave up 2 first-round picks, and just for shits and giggles, you threw in DJ Moore. Like
Moore was the asset to make it finally work.
There was no reason. You were bargaining against no one for this pick. You did not have to throw in a legit number 1 receiver in the NFL. That's what DJ Moore is. Because while you were sitting here scheming, how am I really going to help my new quarterback? Guess who could have really helped your new quarterback? Like, how fucking stupid are the Panthers that they threw in DJ Moore?
What's with all the cursing already?
Because you want to get me going? I'm being serious. Like, if you're an actual Panthers fan,
you're mad.
Like, okay, you cool, Giglio, awesome numbers, but I'm sitting here having to bite my tongue and hide the fucking cutlery because I got to watch DJ Moore urinate on my team.
So what's funny about that is we talked about this last week, and I said that the Carolina Panthers were not going to win this game in any form or fashion. Okay, in any form or fashion. They could win the game. They could beat the Bears, but there's been this weird beef between the Carolina Panthers social media and the Bears social media, and it all comes down to these trades and who won, and we fleeced you and all this other stuff. They could have won this game, and the conversation still would have been, yeah, cool, but look at all the things that we ended up getting because of the trade that brought us these assets. Now, the most disturbing part about all of this is the Chicago Bears were not good going into this game. statistically, on the offensive side of the ball, they were at the bottom or near the bottom of many offensive statistical categories. Caleb Williams was going through his typical rookie stuff, as you see in the NFL. He's not alone, by the way. Of course, not everybody can be Jaden Daniels apparently this year, but it is what it is, right? The point is, the Bears offensively, as bad as you have been defensively, should not have looked like that against you. So that's the part that gets a lot of Panthers fans pissed off. But it does get back to my original point. When it comes to offensively, the Andy Dalton buzz, the Andy Dalton lift clearly has gone away after a couple of games. And I get that the Bears are good defensively, but that should not look like an uninspired offensive effort, or as quickly as they got away from, as you said, Chuba Hubbard having a pretty decent game. He was the reason why they got on the board in the first place, and they got away from that, from very predictable passing plays. And it got so bad and so out of hand that we saw Bryce Young back on the field, which I know that people want to do the whole However, he is our garbage time king, Bryce Young. Remember, what was it, last year you highlighted some sort of, all 22 tape eater social media account that broke down like his passer rating in a garbage time situation against the Green Bay Packers, right?
Mm-hmm. The highest rated fourth quarter passer in all of the NFL in 2023 was Bryce Young.
Cool. So when the game is not on the line, Bryce Young seems to be fine. That's a problem. That's a problem. And after the game, Dave Canales did say that they are sticking with Andy Dalton, although given the track record that we have from Dave Canales so far this season, just because he said something on Sunday doesn't mean, as at the time of this recording, when Dave Canales will meet with the media later today, he doesn't change his mind. But I see them sticking with Andy Dalton because also in front of that offensive line, I'm not quite sure what you're going to get.
2 more injuries to their offensive line. That's really where it started to fall apart last year, is when the offensive line started to get hurt. You stick with Andy Dalton. I actually thought it was pretty best case scenario for Young to come in, get the reps that he did, and look functional.
Sure.
Again, I beg you to watch the rest of the NFL and to see how bad the quarterbacking is.
It's bad.
Like, I don't know what the Miami Dolphins are doing or what they've deluded themselves into. The truth of the matter is the Dolphins season is over. So why would you make a move at this point, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Best case scenario for the Panthers. Bryce Young continues to come in, show something, anything. Maybe change his name to a European with a European last name. So it's like in the NBA. Like, you have potential when people don't know about you and they can only see like a glimpse. But here they are. You know how Carolina, I don't know if you know this, but Matt Doherty actually did coach Carolina basketball. Like, you have to work really hard to find any kind of reference to Matt Doherty in that 8-20 season.
I think there's one picture still in the Smith Center.
Maybe somewhere. And that's cool. I get it. Like, if you're Carolina and you have all the things that you have, why would you highlight the one bad thing that you've had? Right. I think the Carolina Panthers need to do that. They just need to get rid of Bryce Young. Let them have these little cameos, let them play well, and then get rid of them and just pretend the whole thing never happened. Just pull a whitewash, move the brain, wipe the brain, wipe the memory, Control Alt Delete, do what you got to do and move it along, because every time you have a day like Sunday, you realize you made the worst trade in the history of the NFL. You did. You did.
You're going you're going Mad Men.
Something.
You're going Don Draper when he visits Peggy in the hospital after she had the baby, and he's like, just forget about it. It's amazing how it's amazing. I think the line is, it's amazing how much this will have never happened. Like, it'll amaze you. So maybe that's what you do with Bryce Young, right? You just go full Don Draper, just like moving on, man, moving on to the next thing, which we will do. All right, like we said, there's plenty of things to get into. We'll go through a lightning round of some NFL action. But before we get into the full-on lightning round of NFL action, there's one more thing that we can tell you good about the Panthers.
Tell me something good.
Getting rid of Bryce Young, while sucks, won't sink your franchise financially. So, Joe, on the bright side, it's actually a good thing that Deshaun Watson didn't want to go to the Carolina Panthers.
That's right. Could always be worse.
Could always be worse. You could be the Cleveland Browns stuck with Deshaun Watson and his contract. You talk about the Carolina Panthers negotiating against themselves to get Bryce Young in the first place. Let's not forget that the Cleveland Browns negotiated against themselves to give him this fully guaranteed contract that is going to sink them. And as much as I like to joke with some level of truth that much like birds, the salary cap is not real, you can F up your salary cap so badly in the case of Deshaun Watson that there will be repercussions for this for years to come. They're left with no choice but to keep playing him.
Well, I mean, it's not like you just can't draft another Patrick Mahomes. Oh, wait. The Browns have never drafted a good quarterback in the history of their franchise.
Add it to the list, man. Add it to the list. Okay, let's get to some lightning round NFL action here. Oh, look at that. Aaron Rodgers is the problem. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? By the way, this is now the second or third game that Robert Saleh, the guy who everybody wants fired, the defensive guy, has a defense that has done their job. Okay? Remember, they held the Denver Broncos to 10 points, and all the Jets could muster was 9. Okay?
Right.
Now, in this case, in London against the Minnesota Vikings, the Sam Darnold Bowl, the I'm going to see Ghosts revenge tour for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was Sam Darnold, and the Jets and the Vikings defense was pretty good. And that defense being good led to Aaron Rodgers throwing not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. This is Aaron Rodgers very much looking like a dude who's 40 years old coming off an Achilles tear. And usually the media laps up like all the drama, like, oh, clearly the locker room loves Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh, accountability, all this other stuff. All right, I'm going to be curious to see how he goes on the Pat McAfee show this week. He talks about accountability for the fact that he is the reason why they lost that game.
I mean, both things can be true. Robert Saleh can be a bad coach and Aaron Rodgers can be washed up. I mean, let us not dismiss that.
I'm not going to dismiss it outright, but I will say this. When we make everything about the quarterback, right, it's not like the defense for the Jets hasn't done what they're supposed to do a couple of times this season.
Yeah.
You got to score. That's why you brought him here. The whole point was a marriage of this great defense and this otherworldly quarterback, and the otherworldly quarterback is not performing.
The only reason the Jets defense played well,
quote unquote, well,
was because Aaron Jones got hurt after the Vikings had a 17-0 lead. That's what really determined this game.
There is that. All right. Over to the Ravens and the Bengals. We've been complaining about these football games not being all that good. But the Ravens and the Bengals provided, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we're on pace to get, 2 good games a week, basically?
That's probably what it is. There's 2 takeaways from this game. One, the Ravens right now do look like the best team in the AFC. I say that right now. The Chiefs have been struggling, but the Chiefs have struggled before. And I understand they haven't looked good. I understand they have injuries. I get all that stuff. And the Ravens are wowing you right now because Lamar Jackson's doing his thing. But nobody's buying this right now, right? I mean, it's only mid-October.
It's very college football of you.
Right?
The Chiefs, who play tonight, are let me check my notes here. No glasses, 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've won 2 Super Bowls in a row.
Okay.
The Chiefs are dead when you actually kill them. Can't kill them in the regular season. Can only kill them in the playoffs.
Fair enough. I'm calling it right now. The Bengals are 1-4 right now, but I believe in their 4 losses, they've all come down to 1-score games. I know Zach Taylor, the head coach, is on the hot seat right now because they're not maximizing the Joe Burrow time. But I do think that this is something that'll probably get itself fixed as the season goes on. They're close. I'm not going to bury the Bengals just yet. I will bury the San Francisco 49ers, though, because we don't know when Christian McCaffrey's coming back.
He's probably not. They lost in the Super Bowl last year, right? Again,
yes.
Checking notes. Yeah. The most powerful force in the universe is losing in the Super Bowl.
They're 0-3 in the NFC. They're 0-2 in their division. And I'm here to tell you right now that Christian McCaffrey, I get that Lamar Jackson's going to get MVP consideration, but really it's Christian McCaffrey. We are in that mode again where the guy who's not on the field shows you how important he is by not being on the field. So Christian McCaffrey is your early season MVP because what are the San Francisco 49ers without him? What is Brock Purdy, the game manager, right? I mean, we're going to relitigate that one without guys like Christian McCaffrey. So who knows? Maybe the San Francisco 49ers are doing the inverse because remember, they always start the season pretty good and then the injuries start to pile up and you wonder just how far they're going to be able to go. They stayed relatively healthy last year. Maybe they're just getting all their injuries out of the way now. So anyway. to Washington. I'm telling you, they're going to win the division.
Washington?
Going to win their division.
Yeah, I mean, you're bandwagoning that one.
Absolutely. That's what Washington fans do.
Oh, okay.
Get on that bandwagon right now. I mean, honestly, like, look, the Giants, when I get that, the Cowboys looked uninspired in a win against a Pittsburgh Steelers team that we're now into the full-on, is it time for Justin Fields to sit so that Russell Wilson can come in? And if that happens, can you go back to Justin Fields, right? The only reason why I say that is Washington, with the way that Daniels is playing and how uninspired the Cowboys look. Daniel Jones is still the QB in New York, and Nick Sirianni is probably going to get fired at some point this season. Yeah, man. I think Washington's going to pull this thing out, and they pull it out again with a win this weekend.
Washington's playing at a different level right now. There's a lot of confidence, but I don't know if I dump the Gatorade for wins over the Giants, Bengals, Cardinals, and Browns. Mm-hmm. I do think they will win. They have a real chance to win the division because the Eagles are about to crater.
Yep.
The Giants are the Giants.
Yep.
Fair enough. But I would not write off the Cowboys just yet.
Okay. All right.
You say uninspired, but that's a tough game. Lightning, everything else. You're not winning. You're not playing with your fastball. They come back and make a comeback late and win that game. So
I will say this about the Cowboys, though, and I know nationally this has been the conversation because Jerry Jones's comment about being all in is coming back to bite him. I mean, it's not like there aren't pieces out there to help the Cowboys win right now. If you're selling out right now, well, then you would be in the mix for some wide receiver trade talk, right? But they don't seem to be in that conversation right now. Now, we still have weeks to go before the trade deadline, but I know that's what the Cowboys are getting banged on. So it is what it is. Now, lastly, we got the New England Patriots. They somehow managed to lose to a bad Dolphins team, 15-10. And there is a mutiny of sorts that seems to be taking place in New England. This was last week on the context, the in-house Patriots podcast. Okay. Mm-hmm. This would be the equivalent of Darren Gant at Panthers.com having this conversation, or Mike Maniscalco with Shane Willis and Walt Ruff going on the Canes cast, the official podcast.
You're being paid by the team.
Yes. The official Carolina Hurricanes podcast to air out dirty laundry. And apparently this is Evan Lazar. Evan is a senior reporter, host of Patriots Catch 22 on Patriots.com. And right now they're teetering on a mutiny in that locker room. This is last week.
Right now they're teetering on mutiny in that locker room. And I don't want to be alarmist or like what's the word? I don't want to
hyperbolic.
speak. Yeah, hyperbolic. Thank you. I don't. But I was in that locker room after the game on Sunday. The defense is mad at the defense. The offense is mad at the offense. You have young receivers who are literally throwing tantrums on film. And Pop Douglas and Jalen Polk, and good on Pop Douglas for owning that this week and walking, kind of saying that he's got to be better and all that kind of stuff. But I said this before and I'll say it again. You're at the point now with 52 other guys in that locker room that all watch these two quarterbacks practice every single day, that all know that they drafted Drake May 3rd overall. And at what point in time does some of these guys say to themselves, why am I going out there and getting my butt kicked every single Sunday and Drake can't?
So that was going into the game against the Dolphins. Jacoby Brissett was the starter again. They mustered 10 points. Drake May did not see the field. I wonder how that's going to play out this week. By the way, that was scrubbed from the podcast at Patriots.com.
Yeah, just so you know, Patriots, you won 6 Super Bowls. You made your trade. You're going 1-16 this year. Just eat your shit sandwich and be happy with your 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, you weren't kidding. You were fired up today. Love to see it. Love to see it. Big thanks to DraftKings. You can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code OG24 and you can kick in some wonderful bonus bets. You bet $5 as a first-time customer, and you will get $200 in bonus bets. All of my attempts to build back my bank account did not work.
Yeah, ECU damaged me.
Oh, for real? Did Biff give you the business?
He did.
Like he gave ECU the business?
He did.
What did you do?
That was the one game that you know how sometimes you throw a bunch of things into a parlay, and that was the one that kept biting me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Look, parlays, as you have a love-hate relationship with parlays.
I do.
There's a fellow hockey dad on the team that loves to tell me his like insane 15.
I got 28 legs. I got 26 of them. All I need is.
I think the favorite part of those parlays for people is like, this is how close I was to winning $50 million.
It's definitely the story, man.
It's always the story.
Definitely the story.
I mean, look,
I had a perfect bracket. That's that 1 year.
That's the thing. That's what I love about DraftKings. I can build my own parlay. I can do some of their baked in parlays, which are super easy. You just go, okay, that seems like something that can happen. And you know me, $5 gang, I just put $5 down. It's kind of like a scratch off, right? My dad can hand me a lottery ticket, but at least with this, I have a semblance of, I think this can happen. I think this can happen. I think this can happen. So that's all the fun and frivolity you can have on DraftKings. Perfect time to get on board, especially after a week that we saw. Look, maybe you felt that Vanderbilt was going to get it done. Could have cashed out on that.
That would have been pretty big.
That would have been nice. It was a pretty wild weekend in college football. Well, maybe you took advantage of that. So here's what you need to do. You go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your teams, place your first bet, and as a newbie, to get you into the college spirit, all you got to do is bet $5 and you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So score big with DraftKings all college football season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code OG24. Again, that's code OG24. And new customers will get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/FTBall.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Enovana. You can check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Big thanks to everybody who showed up for the OG Golf Classic on Friday. The weather was nice. Everybody was off the course in about 4 hours, right? You called that.
And you smashed the over on drives.
I did.
You had 7 in the fairway?
I hit 7 in the fairway.
7 out of 8 out of 17?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Which meant Chris, who was a huge help. Chris and Ken, big shout out to them, and Catherine over at Sierra Nevada helped us out immensely on the 12th hole. Chris was out there with his test tube shots of the old Taylor.
Yep.
Ken was providing the tunes and keeping track of stuff. Catherine had the beer.
Did you have any outright misses?
No, I hit the ball every time.
Wow.
Now, that didn't mean to get on the fairway.
Sure.
I think I only topped it once.
I was going to say, I've seen you top it like multiple times in a round. So
I'm pretty sure
if
I
you
only
did
once.
it once and you had 7 fairways.
Yeah.
That was an outstanding performance.
Again, it's all about the woods. Okay.
Was it a 14 or a 13?
It's a 13.
I still can't get it right.
It's a 13.
That
the
thing,
wood only happens in odd numbers.
It's brutal.
What do you mean it's brutal?
Disgusting. The thing is disgusting.
Also, big thanks to Roback for helping us make that happen. It's good to actually meet Ben.
Yes.
And Ben, look, there are times where like you look at somebody and you go, yeah, you should be working there. Like for you and me, it's like, yeah, these dudes are
they
clearly.
walk in. What do these two guys do?
Oh yeah, they're
they're
podcasters. they're that's a fired radio guy. That's an ex-newspaper guy. Like, oh, that makes total sense.
Get it? I get it.
It makes total sense. Ben pulls up in just like the Roback fit to end all Roback fits, and I go, yeah, dude, you should be.
Pretty
with
sure
Roback.
I'm pretty sure he started on our long drive hole, and I pull up, and Jackson hit a good shot, and he goes, I go, oh, and he was about 10, 15 yards short. I go, who hit that? He goes, Ben Mar something. And I was like, oh, yeah. That tracks.
That tracks. So again, big thanks to Roback. Their stuff is incredible. I know you're rocking your Roback on today.
I'll tell you the one thing I was like most happy about. There was at least a dozen Roback shirts out there.
Yeah.
I mean, including me and my dad.
Of
but
course.
like, I'm looking at that stuff going, we're getting through, man. That promo code's getting some work.
Let's go.
So OG20, find out for yourself. Seriously.
Yeah.
Also, if you're a triple X If you are a triple X, I've got a hoodie for you. Send me an email, giglio.joe@gmail.com. Because Ben bought a bunch of sizes that were the full range.
So if you want a triple X throwdown, don't call.
No. Sir Mix-a-Lot.
1-800-Mix-a-Lot. And don't kick nasty thoughts to Giglio. Just say, hey, man, I want that triple X.
I would like the triple X hoodie. I think it's green. It's either blue or green or a bluish green.
Gotcha.
Super comfortable, unbelievable stuff. But yes, Ben was kind enough to bring a bunch of different sizes. So we were able to give out our prizes. We had some leftovers, and there is one triple X that's left.
It's good to see you, Matt Davis, over at State Farm taking part.
Oh my gosh, Matt played out of his absolute mind.
Did he win?
He was on my team, and he was unbelievable. He had an unbelievable round of golf. We had a lot of fun with Matt and the Swede and my son Jackson. So we had a great time. Matt was awesome. So
Matt's always awesome because when he shows up to these events, he always has a mystery envelope with him.
Yeah, he does. I gotta make sure I put that in the right bank account.
Don't lose the mystery envelope. Call 919-779-8277. Apparently, he does have a red Jake from State Farm polo waiting for me.
He does for our Halloween show that will be at Matt's office on Aversboro
Very
Road in
excited
Garner.
about that.
Come out to see us. Well, we'll have Canes tickets to give away that day.
Oh, we will?
So kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
All right, we're going to promote that a little bit more. We'll make sure that happens. Also, good to see Adam from Breeze Through and the crew. Check them out online, breezethrough.com. It was good to see him in the vintage Georgia polo that fit him.
Like a model.
Yeah, man.
Like a model.
I don't think that thing was as moisture wicking. The technology back then was not as good as today, so I don't know how he sweat through that thing.
Right.
Definitely not rowback technology, but it was good.
Amazing.
Good to see Adam in that Georgia polo. Kirby Smart would not be upset with Adam's fan behavior in that polo. Okay,
I got news for you, Kirby. You're going to need to get in line with people who are mad with Georgia.
There's a lot of people who are mad right now.
Kirby.
Yeah. So also big thanks to Two Roosters. They have their Appalachian Stack Cake ice cream,
which you had at the golf tournament.
Excellent. And proceeds go to Western North Carolina Hurricane Helene aftermath efforts. So big thanks to Jared over at Two Roosters.
I think I'm allowed to officially say it now too. Two Roosters has a new corporate champion, or they're a corporate champion of Jacob Slavin of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, that's official
so
now?
You're going to see. We're breaking news here on the OG.
So hold up. When are we getting our own flavor?
Listen.
When are we getting our flavor?
Listen.
I know I'm not Jacob Slavin. But come on, man.
I'm okay with Jacob Slavin being ahead of us, like Bubba Cunningham said. Priorities. Right? I'm okay with Jacob Slavin being ahead of us.
Fine.
On the queue.
Fine.
Just as long as we're in the queue.
Fine.
Right?
Fine. That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. It's fine. Okay. Do you want to start with Grayson McCall?
Yeah.
Or do you want to get to triangle football?
We can start with Grayson McCall.
Okay, let's start with Grayson McCall.
Because quite frankly, I had no other reaction. I had no reaction to NC State losing.
Okay.
On Saturday, I had no real reaction to ECU, Carolina, Duke, just being a complete and total wipeout. Yes, Deeks, I'm here for you, my Deeks.
Yeah.
Charlotte, that was a really good win for Charlotte. Now they're 2-0. Biff's 2-0 against the Pirates.
Yeah.
But I really had no reaction to the actual outcome of the football game on Saturday. Every time you say, we've had a lot of conversations not only about the future of football, but the future of television revenue in football. And every time you or another person says, oh, the money will just keep going up and up and football will be number one forever, I always caution you that boxing used to be the number one sport in this country.
Sure.
It did.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then people started getting mortally wounded. And then people started actually dying in the ring. And that's where you saw boxing become a niche sport. It still has its niche, but it's a niche sport.
Yeah.
I think football will eventually go the way of boxing. I think it will always remain it will be there, but it will not be what it is today. And the way you get there is to have Damar Hamlin, is to have Tua Tagovailoa, and now, unfortunately, to have the incident on Saturday at Carter Finley Stadium with Grayson McCall. That was absolutely terrifying. Terrifying. I legitimately thought for even a half of a minute, given Grayson McCall's concussion past, that he had died on the field on Saturday. And I was not alone of the 55,000 people that were at Carter Finley Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah.
The hit was one of the worst I've ever seen in person. And again, you add the context to he had a concussion like that at Coastal Carolina last season.
Mm-hmm.
And now we come to find out the reason he missed the games after Louisiana Tech was he, according to Dave Doeren, was in the protocols. According to ESPN's report from David Hell, he was in the concussion protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a really hard time squaring what was happening on Saturday. People were mentioning that the speed that the players themselves were waving to the sidelines while the play was still going on. That's how bad the hit was for Grayson McCall.
Well, I think Davin Van was in tears.
Definitely.
I mean, I was watching on TV. You were at the game.
I'm telling you this, though. Yeah. I actually thought the reaction was slow.
Okay.
Because it was obvious in the pose that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite the fencer's pose, but he was knocked. He was completely out. He had no helmet on. It was a terrifying scene to see his parents rush onto the field trying to get to him. I'm not making a joke. It was like Rocky IV. Mm-hmm. You're rushing into something, looking at it, going, "What did I just witness?"
Yeah,
it was terrifying. And luckily, he does get awake. You could see him move his arms. You could see him embrace with his mom on the field. But in that context, Joe, I even texted you like, you have a crisis of confidence when something like that happens.
Yeah,
like same thing happened during the pandemic. Like, what are we doing making money as a whole? At the time, we work for a corporation, but we have our own business now. We ostensibly make money off of college sports.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing making money off of human cockfighting, which is what we're watching?
Yeah.
I do struggle with that mentally and morally. And you think, what role am I playing in this gladiator, amuse me. Here we are now, entertain us.
Yeah.
So I did not get caught up in anything. And then you worry about second impact syndrome too. When high school players die of concussions, now they're not in the same environment where there are medical professionals reacting in the way they were. Obviously, Grayson McCall was immediately taken to the hospital across the street, was cared for, was released the same day. We all have that idea now. But legitimately in my brain, I was like, I really hope that these next 24 hours were critical for him. Again, because of what we know about his concussion history. So the whole they were up 30-20, they lost. Oh, their defense isn't any good. Yeah. Oh, Dave Doeren decided to start Grayson McCall. Oh my gosh. Why did he start him? Why didn't he play CJ Bailey?
Well, no, I mean,
so like that whole thing in my head became jumbled. Mm-hmm. So I almost, honestly, I left the press box after it happened and I almost went home.
Yeah.
I almost went home. And I stayed till the end of the game, listened to the press conference or the Zoom call that Dave does afterwards, heard the word protocols. And, there's a conversation to be had about should he be on the field? Shouldn't he be on the field? This is all I'll say about this topic specifically. Grayson McCall is going to turn 24 in December. He's 23 years old. Mm-hmm. He's a grown adult. Okay. He made the decision to play football this year, knowing what he went through last year. He made the decision to return to the field this week, knowing that he already had suffered a concussion against Louisiana Tech.
Yes. And
his parents were there. They, as a grown adult who, quite frankly, is being paid to play football for NC State, at least $300,000. He made a choice that he was going to play football. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and blame Dave Doeren, NC State. This is not. This is
no.
You know what I'm saying? Like there are. No. I did hear people like, "Why would you let the kids go out there?" I'm like, no. He's a 23-year-old adult who is an employee of NC State's, whether at the school or the NCAA wants to admit it. Okay. Yeah. He made a choice that he thought was best for him. His family made a choice that he thought was best for him.
Let me stop you right there. We don't have to bring up money. Okay.
Right. But I do think it's
no.
There is a part of that is part of the equation, though. I think
I'm at the point now when it comes to football. Take the money off the table. People want to play football. Grayson McCall wants to play football. Tua Tagovailoa wants to play football.
Sure.
Damar Hamlin wants to play football. And to your point, I agree with you. We are reminded often when we watch football specifically, that we are watching modern day gladiatorial sport. Okay. The only thing missing is lions. at this point. So I understand what I'm watching. For the longest time, I was having this, like you said, like a crisis of confidence, the existential conversation about why am I watching this? Okay. Well, when I was younger and more like, caught up in my idealism or whatever, I'd be like, I'm not going to watch football. This is terrible. This is terrible for humans, blah, 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 blah. But then you talk to people who are in the sport, and to a man, they all would sign up for it again. They know what they've signed up for. They know what they're getting into. They know that they're risking their life playing football, and they can make it as safe as they want to make it or try to make it with helmet technology, pads, science as quickly. Okay, we got more data, like Damar Hamlin, right? Well, we got more data on how to quickly act here. So let's go ahead and act as quickly as we can. Because of where we are, knowing what we know, it probably prevents actual death from happening in football. All right. So all that being said, as I've gotten older and I've taken in more conversation of players and coaches, I said, well, you know what? They've decided that they want to do this, knowing full damn well. It's like cigarettes now. Like, hey, man, if you want to smoke cigarettes, salute.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're doing when you're putting that lung dart in your mouth. All right. So what am I going to say? Well, I mean, seriously, what am I going to say? So I kind of equate how people are with cigarettes to football, where I'm like, hey, man, you got all this data telling you this is bad for you.
Sure, but you're not paying to watch somebody smoke cigarettes.
I mean, movies you are, but anyway, I mean, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get that, but that's what I was about to say. That's the social contract that we've made,
right,
to watch football. I accept that you've accepted that this is horrible for you, that you are risking your life playing this game. So since you've accepted that, then I have a choice to make. And my choice is to go, all right, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to talk about you, and I'm going to go. Now, for those people who are like, well, Dave never should have put him out there. If you're making that statement because of the concussion stuff, I don't want to have that conversation. Like, I'm not here for that conversation. Straight up, I'm not here for that conversation, because everybody knows the risks. Everybody's doing the right thing.
I don't think you
can't
forced them
prevent
out
it.
there.
Nobody was forced out there.
Given the family's awareness, and again, going back to the excellent preseason story that David Hell wrote about Grayson McCall and what he went through last year with concussions, that was all a cognizant choice by Grayson McCall and his family. Now, the only reason I bring up the money is because he played football this year in order to make money, Joe.
Sure.
That's what the money was for. That was the risk. And again, all of these people who decide I'm going to play football, they're doing at that level, they're doing so knowing this is what my reward is, and what else am I going to do with my life? There is some of that too.
The only thing that I get queasy about in those situations is that when you bring up the money, you make it seem, not you in particular, I'm just saying when the money comes up, it is a thing that people go, well, you're clearly going out there for the money. No, you're going out there because you want to play football. Okay. Like for instance, Tua Tagovailoa, he's set, man. He's got his contract.
Right.
All right. He just wants to go back there because he wants to play football. So I'm not going to knock that. And if you think that's a very cavalier way of going about it, ask yourself why you're still watching football.
Right.
I've accepted that. Now, have you gotten it out of your system before we move on to football?
Yeah.
No, I'm being serious.
No, I know you are. I know
serious.
you are. Again, it's just like same thing happened during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I was like,
what are we doing?
What are we doing, man? Like, these young adults are keeping the lights on at these universities.
Yeah.
And it was laid bare during the pandemic what their role is for these schools.
Straight up.
Laid bare.
Straight up.
And now you add in our factor in that. Again, we're a private company that makes money off of their work.
Mm-hmm.
We are. So, yes, I was struggling with that on Saturday. And to the point where I can give you an analysis of what I thought have happened, and I'm certainly willing to talk about what Dave Doeren's shortcomings are and what NC State's shortcomings are this season.
We know what Dave Doeren's shortcomings are.
I did not leave that game like a lot of people who were just like fired up over, I can't believe we lost to Wake. Wake is terrible, this and that. I don't know how many times I got to tell you Dave Clawson is the best X&O coach in college football. I don't know how many times I got to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean he's going to win a bunch of games. It doesn't mean he can adjust in this era, but I can tell you in the fourth quarter of a football game, he's going to outmaneuver you and give his team a chance.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
So That's what happened to me. That was my reaction to the actual football portion of that game.
Here is my reaction to the football portion of the game. Grayson McCall should not have started because I don't think that Grayson McCall is the answer to what NC State needs based on what we've seen so far. NC State is straight up. NC State is not the team that a lot of people, including NC State, thought they were going to have this year.
Right.
It didn't pan out. It just has not panned out. And I pointed this out to Lauren Brownlow on the ACC Panic Room, is that Dave has fallen into a trap of coaching the team he wants rather than coaching the team that he has. And I think that's really coming home to roost offensively. Defensively, I can answer what's going on. They're just not as good defensively. And it goes back to a conversation we had with Dave Doeren at ACC Kickoff, where you brought up, and you were ultimately right, about missing Peyton Wilson. And you asked Dave, hey, you're lacking this key piece to what made your defense what it was, including leadership. All right. Leadership is key here.
Yeah.
You can say it's an intangible, but it matters in these situations. And I can tell you straight up where they're missing Peyton Wilson. And they understand this. They keep calling these timeouts on fourth down situations. They did it against Northern Illinois, which people were mad about. Remember, we got a sports phone call about that. And I framed it the way I thought was the correct way to frame it. And it happened again against Wake Forest with, I think, a minute 30, a minute 45 left in the game. Wake Forest is facing a fourth down situation. They call a timeout. And State fans think that's coaching malpractice. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm the one taking the crazy pills here. No, that's Dave understanding I don't have the same kind of defense and I have to call a timeout because we got to look, and now we can try to work around that look. I don't have do you think he calls those? Do you think he calls in the same situations? Does he call those timeouts last year with Peyton Wilson on the field?
I do not think so. No.
There's your answer.
And I don't have a problem with him calling the timeouts this year.
No.
Because you're trying to you're trying to put your team in the best position to win a football game. And going back to the pregame decision of starting Grayson.
That's where I have a problem.
That's Dave's default.
Yep.
Is going, and he said it after the game. He's our starter. You don't lose your job based on injury. He was voted captain, indicating he's a leader of this team. He also earlier in the week had said there are things in our playbook that we cannot do because CJ Bailey's a true freshman.
Mm-hmm. Too bad.
And
and also, what were you getting out of the playbook when he wasn't on the field? Look, I'm not trying to be an ass about this.
No, I know.
I'm really not trying to be an ass about this. And if anything, I feel like I've been somewhat level-headed about NC State so far this season. I haven't gone fully in, as some people would point out, I've gone fully in on North Carolina and their shortcomings. But the decision to start Grayson McCall was the wrong decision, not because of what we ended up seeing on the football field. It was the wrong decision because it's Dave defaulting to the most conservative mode possible. At some point, knowing full damn well your team is not what you thought it was going to be, it's not going to magically turn around. This is what it is. So you got to put your young guys in the best position to win. You got to call it a little bit more loose. I don't know what's going on between Dave Doeren and Robert and I, but my goodness, when you're seeing frustrations from guys you paid for, you want to get back to the money.
I was going to say there's two guys now that they're playing that they shouldn't have been playing. Jordan Waters is the other one. I don't get why they use Jordan Waters at all.
Okay.
And then I'll be perfectly honest.
And they got away from Raphael in the fourth quarter.
That's what I'm saying. He's the one making plays and you're not using them. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Also, people want to get on the conservative offense. I mean, was it 2 fourth down conversions that Wake had in the fourth quarter? They dominated the fourth quarter with time of possession.
Yeah, they were down 10 going into the fourth quarter. That game should have been won.
It should have been over, but you couldn't get off the field. But you probably need it. But Dave goes into default mode. I'm up 10. I'm good.
Right. Game's over.
Can't do that, especially if your defense isn't as good as it once was, to the point where you're calling it a little bit differently. But what's interesting is he's calling it differently defensively because he knows he has to call it differently. I'm waiting for the light bulb to go on where they call it differently offensively. Let the offense cook. Why won't you? That's the great question. Why won't you let the offense cook? And if you're not going to let the offense cook, then why the hell did you spend all that money this offseason on the offense?
They
add money to basically spend the money on things you're good at,
right?
Rather than spending money and then causing the frustration that you're seeing now.
Yeah, I suspect they missed on the linebackers that they wanted.
Fair.
This is a 3-3 stack defense that really only works when you have good linebackers. Now, to Dave's point, they were good in 21 when they had Drake Thomas, when they had Isaiah Moore, even without Peyton Wilson. So they've had other linebackers. They really missed at the linebacker position, both recruiting wise and in the portal. Their defense is not good.
No.
And their offense is not good and very predictable. So that's a bad combination. And, you know, they told you who they were in the first half of the season against Western Carolina.
They did.
Again, if you're about that life, then be about that life. Don't play with your food. Don't come out. Don't need this. Don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you play Tennessee. You straight up quit in the second half of that football game. You go to Clemson. You straight up do not show up for the first half of that football
They
game.
had nothing in that game.
So here you are. Again, as I said, you're in an 8 coin toss situation. They won one of the coin tosses against Northern Illinois. They lost one of the coin tosses against Wake Forest. At the risk of beating a dead horse, you are now going to play 6 more games. They will be 6 coin tosses. How will you do in those 6 coin tosses? Can you get yourself to 6-6? And you don't want to hear this, NC State fans, but we've seen Dave Doeren's basement before.
Mm-hmm.
It is 4-8.
Yeah.
It is 3-9. Can you stay out of that basement and show the progress of being 6-6? And irony alert, can you motivate your team to get to 6 wins, to get to a bowl game that they won't play in?
So it's interesting. I viewed the Wake Forest game as a reset to the season. I felt like the Wake Forest game was the true beginning of a Dave Doeren special, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you reel off 5 or 6?
He's done
all
it before.
All of a sudden find yourself at 7-2 and be like, hey, see?
He's done it before.
Yeah.
However, what I did not account for is you are, quote unquote, resetting your season against a team, against Dave Clawson, that has a knack for pissing you off. So shout out to
in that
Ethan.
very specific scenario.
Very specific scenario where your entire season it's hint not on the Carolina game. Your season goes from, man, we had a good season, but it could have been great if. But now it's, hey, man, we probably could have turned things around, but if Wake Forest. And shout out to Ethan, who decided to send us this. It never gets old. From 2019, October 29th, you're previewing the NC State Wake Forest game, and you wrote your look at that roadback. It's almost like my computer knows. It knows that I'm on roadback. Roadback looking good. Extra roadback ad. All right, let's go.
What if the sun set in the east? What if close counted in more than horseshoes and hand grenades? What if NC State and Wake Forest have switched identities? I'm Joe Giglio, and call me crazy, but it's Wake Forest who's riding high this season. It's the Demon Deacons with a shot at a 10-win season and a chance under the lights. I've got 45-31. Oh, wait, I think you'll see your loss. 30-ounce back. Ever picked AA tournament picks.
Okay.
Yours truly not.
You wrote a letter to yourself.
I did.
Okay.
All right. Dear 2019 Joe, do not, under any circumstance, pick NC State to beat Wake Forest. Yours truly, 2018 Joe. P.S. I sent you another letter to open before you make your NCAA tournament picks. Perfect bracket. Ha! That wasn't very nice, 2018 Joe. What, though? I've never picked NC State to beat Wake Forest. That Ryan Finley will have a bounce-back effort. I think the Wolfpack wins a wild one, 38-35. Paying back last year's bitter loss in Winston-Salem, I think you'll see a motivated Wolfpack. I think you'll see a high-flying Wolfpack under the lights. I've got 45-31. Oh, those games. That's right. There was the Tabari Hines game in 2017 down in Winston-Salem. Really a masterful performance by John Walford and his coach, Dave Clawson. And then last year, it was Jamie Newman, in his first start, led a fourth quarter comeback against NC State to keep NC State, who is in position in the College Football Playoff standings, to make a major bowl for the first time in school history and win at least 10 games for only the second time in school history. The Deeks are always the spoiler, even if you change the roles. It's not going to happen for the Wolfpack on Saturday. This has got the Deeks in a walk. 38-17. Check out all our coverage.
How'd that game go? I forgot.
I think it was more.
It was more than that? It was more than that? Oh, boy. Goodness gracious. Anyway, I thought it was funny. Shout out to Ethan for bringing that back up.
44-10.
Wake Forest continues to just be a pain in the ass for NC State. Now, this is all setting up for it could be. You mentioned NC State has all these coin flip games the rest of the way.
Yeah.
By the way, North Carolina's in the same boat.
Yeah. They're suddenly in John Bunning Chuckamato territory of who gets to keep their job.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I don't think Dave Doeren's in danger of losing his job.
I do not disagree with you.
No, I know a lot of, I don't even entertain that conversation. Even if they bottom out the rest of the year, I don't see Dave Doeren losing his job straight up. Mac's a different scenario because of the age and where we're at in the program cycle and everything else with Mac 2.0. And with these losses, it's becoming even more crystallized that, yeah, man, this is looking like the final year. But we also know that this rivalry provides.
Oh, yeah.
And I know, I think a lot, I said this back in July, that we are set up for the triangle football gods blessing us with NC State. I got the NC State having a good season part wrong, but I might still get the Carolina's going to absolutely F up State's world by going out with a Mac win as he goes off into the sunset. And, I still got it, right? So, but Mac, look, man, this is where I'm like, this is like Joe Ovies defense coaches this weekend, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people were banging on Mac Brown for that 19-play drive that ends up in 0 points, right? So they go the length of the field, 19 plays. They elect to go for it on 4th down, turnover on downs. People are mad. You should kick a field goal. I'm sure that field goal was going to loom large as the game goes on. No, Mac Brown knew, given the way that Pitt's offense had been playing, not necessarily an indictment on their defense, but if they were going to win this game, field goals were not going to get it done. Mac recognized that. I've never questioned whether or not Mac understands how a game's going to unfold. The question is whether or not he has his team prepared to execute for the way a game might unfold. Mac was right. So the Carolina fans who were banging on Mac Brown for going for it on 4th down after that 19-play drive, they were wrong, because sure enough, the way that game unfolded came down to who was going to get the touchdowns, and ended up being Pitt. And Mac said it after the game as well. Hey, man, this game came down to quarterback play. And Holstein was pretty damn good in this game against Pitt. Now, we're going to get to a larger college football playoff conversation that includes the ACC here in a second, because we got a little long here. But I wanted to crystallize this because our listeners get us. They get us. They're looking out for us, okay? And we are set up for Carolina and NC State playing at the end of the season for potentially a bowl game for both.
Right.
Winner goes to a bowl.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're kind of set up for.
Or winner qualifies for a bowl. It doesn't mean any one of the teams going to play in the bowl game.
Fair. Shout out to Will. It's $80 on eBay. Apparently, one person had this in their cart. Well, guess what? I scooped it up. I bought this thing. This is to track back to the Coca-Colas and that weird wooden display case for NC State and Carolina 82-83 championship Coca-Colas, and they were high-fiving. This one seems to be an unlicensed Ramses and Tuffy, where Ramses is embracing Tuffy. It's like they're hugging. And it said, "You've made us proud." 1982 and 1983. And I feel like, I bought this, by the way. I'm not making this up. I dropped $90 for this t-shirt. It's a large. I am counting on 80s large fitting this dad bod.
Wait till you see the Peter Golenbach t-shirt that Brendan got me.
Oh, no.
You are going to love that.
By the way, Brendan Fines has some gems, dude. He has gems. So I bought this, and I plan on wearing this at the end of the season, because at the end of the day, NC State and North Carolina, you've made us proud by providing nonstop football content, ladies and gentlemen. You've made us proud. What?
Wear it under the jacket, please.
I wish it arrived. I'm bringing the satin jacket to tip off.
Yeah,
but I wish it was going to arrive ahead of that. Unfortunately, it's just not. We're sitting here talking about all these cool throwback things. I got to send Home Field could never get the licensing agreement to get that shirt. Okay. There's no way that Carolina and State would sign off on a Home Field collab for that.
Right.
Unfortunately. However, Home Field does have some amazing outfits that you can put together. The t-shirts are wonderful. The hoodies are super, super comfortable. But some of their one-off items, like the coaches' jackets and the corduroy hats and the satin pullovers, all fantastic. And thanks to Home Field for providing for our OG Golf Classic winners, Joe.
Josh, I mean, could not have come through in a more clutch way, because I was like, listen, man, I want to buy a coach's jacket. And he was like, well, I don't know. Like, you're not going to know the size. Like, it's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Our inventory is kind of changing too, because, it's towards the end of that cycle. And I was like, okay. He's like, but how about this? I give you some gift cards. You give them away. People can buy what they want. I was like,
that's amazing.
That sounds unbelievable.
Why did I think of that? So big thanks to Home Field. You can use the promo code OG24 to save 15% off your order. Again, that's OG24. Big thanks to Hometown Realty. You can check them out online at myhtr.com. Guaranteed offers. You're just leaving money on the table. Shout out to my brother who texted me after last week's. Yeah, my dad would be the kind of guy that would take a guaranteed offer. He's like, man, just selling dad out. I said, am I wrong? He goes, no. I go, okay, see? So if they were to ever sell the house, I would tell my parents, no, don't you dare. You're going to sell that house with confidence, thanks to our friends at Hometown Realty. And then I'm going to tell my dad, go back to Shady's in Garner. I understand it's a spot. I understand it's a Buffalo Bills bar, but they can take care of you at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online, wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. And of course, our friends at the Butcher's Markets. We did have one of our listeners who tailgated this weekend for the NC State game with the Butcher's Market. As I pointed out to him, triangle football might disappoint you, but you know what doesn't? The Butcher's Market.
The Butcher's Market. So I gave away our offsite raffle. I've been delivering bottles because that's what I do. And our guy Nathan was like, man, he's like, right. He was in Apex. He's like, the Holly Spring one's here, but the Cary one's here. He's like, I always go to the Cary one. I was like, yeah. And I said, if you really want to be the hit at your office, catering, the Butcher's Market is now doing catering. So give them a call, 919-785-5227. That's 919-785-5227. Get more information at thebutchersmarkets.com.
All right, let's get to the rest of college football. Miami now 2 weeks in a row, adding to the ACC conspiracy theories. Okay. Against Virginia Tech, it was the absolute correct call. Wrong process, but correct call on the Hail Mary. And then against the Calgorithm, it took a while for Cam Ward to figure out the Calgorithm.
Down 25.
Down 25 points. He had an all-timer fourth quarter, which was aided by some curious officiating decisions.
Yeah. Apparently, going back to the state game, apparently the ACC has no clue what targeting is and what it isn't.
No, they don't.
Big no call in that game that helped Miami. Yeah, I think this Miami team is giving me big 91 Colorado vibes. That was the year of the fifth down, and it was like, hey, how'd you get to the national championship game? Well,
you say Colorado vibes. Fair enough. I'm just thinking this is 2017 vibes, where with the turnover chain and the turnover luck, you're getting some officiating luck that goes along the way that's masking some of the issues. Now, the difference between that Miami team and this Miami team is the pure essence. If I watched a lot of Dune over the summer, the spice of college football is Cam Ward. He's a high variance quarterback right now. And he can go out there and win you some damn football games. All right. So I do think that the difference between that team that didn't really have a quarterback to save them, just a bunch of turnovers. This one with Cam Ward, you don't know what you're going to get. I'm not saying they weren't aided by officiating, but hey, man, them's the breaks sometimes. Them's the breaks. But I would say this about the ACC as things are unfolding. The College Football Playoff Committee is going to have some interesting decisions to make with how things are shaking out in the SEC, which we'll get to in a second, because Pitt beating North Carolina keeps them, hear me out. I'm very much of the opinion that this is a Miami-Clemson ACC championship game destiny.
Okay.
And that both of those teams are going to enter the College Football Playoff. All right. The champion goes, and obviously you'll get an at-large on whoever loses. I think they've both done enough at this point, if they continue to go in this direction, that they'll both get in.
Yeah.
However, there's two variables that exist right now. One of them is Pitt. The other is SMU. SMU might play spoiler here in the ACC at 5-1. They have one loss to a very good BYU team right now.
Mm-hmm.
Your SMU might actually fulfill the promise here, but there's still a hell of a lot of football to be played. I'm simply pointing out that the ACC is not as dead and buried as people wanted to make it out to be when you've got Miami and Clemson, because Clemson looks very efficient.
Yes.
And Georgia is not looking as dominant right now, especially, the last 2 weeks. So I do think that if Clemson continues to take care of business and looks as efficient as they do, they're going to get serious consideration. And all of this gets back to the trump card, the ACC. I'm telling you right now, if I'm Jim Phillips, I am texting everybody at the ACC network right now. You know how Jim likes to close all of his texts with "Go ACC."
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be texting Eric McLean. He needs to be texting EJ Manuel. He needs to be texting Taylor Tannenbaum, Mark Packer, anybody who David Hale, Andrea Adelson. They're all getting a big group text right now and saying, if you don't hammer Vanderbilt beating Alabama when we talk about the college football playoff, then you're all fired off the network, because this is now the trump card that the ACC needs. Because for years, now I'm going to curse, the amount of shit the ACC gets for Virginia Tech losing to Vanderbilt or some other weird interconference situation or in-conference situation.
I was going to say, go back to week 0. Everyone was like, oh my God, Florida State's terrible because they lost to Georgia Tech.
Right.
It's like, well, maybe Georgia Tech's not that bad.
So we now have Vanderbilt in the mix for this Alabama. And it wasn't just like a fluky thing, by the way.
No.
Look, I was at Wake Competition Center for a hockey game, and I, talking to some of the dads are like, hey man, you see Vanderbilt's up on Alabama. And I'm thinking, okay, we talking blocked punts, couple turnovers, like a pick, something fluky, right? Something that was not sustainable. No, I went back and looked. Dude, they just straight up beat Alabama. I was just tape to tape, straight up beat Alabama.
All of the same things I said after the Virginia Tech game apply now in a more shocking manner, though. Let's be perfectly honest. I get that,
but straight up, you can't. I'm sorry. It's now null and void. It's now null and void.
So Vanderbilt somehow was only 0-60 versus top 5 teams. That seems low, man.
Yeah.
Given what league they play in, that seems low, being only 0-60. This was their first win over Alabama since 1984. The coach at Alabama in 1984 was Ray Perkins. You should know that name because Ray Perkins was the guy who followed the guy. Kalen DeBoer is the guy who followed the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to be the guy who follows the guy.
I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice, dude. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. It is what it is. All right. You want to get into some serious college. This is why we love college football. I'm going to tell you why I love college football, and I'm going to tell you why I hate college football at the same time. First reason why I love college football is the internet never forgets. And Nick Saban's learned the hard way.
Oh, this was good.
Yeah,
This was really good.
Nick Saban's learned the hard way that now you're in the media and you got to talk about this stuff for a living.
You got to jazz it up a little bit.
Yeah, you got to say some stuff. He's on with his boy, Pat McAfee, and Vanderbilt ends up trolling him. And here's what ended up happening. This was, 2 weeks ago when Tennessee and Oklahoma were playing, and they were on site with Pat McAfee in his tank top.
Only place you play in the SEC that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt.
So that's on the PA as the Vanderbilt fans are rushing the field and tearing down a goalpost old school style and dumping it into the river.
I love that. That was a serious transit too.
First time Vanderbilt's ever beaten the number 1 team in the country.
Awesome. So shout out to Nick Saban, who's now providing the very rat poison he hates.
Mm-hmm.
The very rat poison he hates.
The circle of life.
Oh man, I love that. Now, that's why I love college football. It's things like that that make you fall in love with college football. Vanderbilt getting this win over Alabama, the goalposts, all that stuff. And we saw a pretty wild Saturday, all things considered. You can tie it back into the NC State Wake Forest game and how that game ended, or like ECU Charlotte. It's just in general a pretty wild day in college football. These are the reasons
Tennessee
why we love
lost to Arkansas
college football, right?
Yeah.
But here's why I hate college football. The latest talking point, and this started after the Alabama-Georgia game, but it's really going to kick in this week. Well, none of this matters because of the college football playoff and the expansion of the college football playoff. Look, a couple things about this. One, when we're talking about Alabama, let's not act as though, even in the previous model, Alabama doesn't get the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
The way this gets positioned after a loss to Vanderbilt is that this is the great reset that Alabama needed in conference, a true embarrassment. And they can use it as a measuring stick to tell you how much it really unlocked their killer instinct. And I don't want to play them in the college football playoff. That's how Alabama gets discussed, because they always get the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying Alabama didn't earn their benefit of the doubt, but let's not act as though, in the previous model, Alabama's done in the college football playoff discussion. No, they aren't. They never are.
I take this the other way.
Okay.
While people are sitting here going, oh, the results don't matter. The results show you in a one-off tournament, anything can happen.
Yeah.
You sit here and tell me, oh man, well, just let Tulane in so they can get blown out by the 5th seed.
You don't know that.
Okay.
You don't know that.
Well, let's see it. If you're going to blow them out, blow them out.
Right.
If you're going to be a machine every week, be a machine every week. But that's not reality. So I take Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, who I introduced to the world after the Virginia Tech game. He's a dog, man.
He is.
And it's a one-off game.
Yeah.
So anytime you're put in that situation, anything can happen. So I don't take it as, oh, this is bad for college football. No, quite frankly, it's the opposite. This is excellent for college football.
You, sir, are headed to O2 Fitness today, which...
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
Getting work done today, huh?
We got the needling today.
Very nice.
A little stimulate that area. Let's go.
Yeah, depending on how my afternoon goes, I might try to get over to O2 Fitness to get that sweat in. I'm never going to catch Trip Tracy, I know that, but at least I can try. So, went over to a friend's yesterday, and Erica is an amazing cook, so she's decided to make her own version of a Crunchwrap Supreme.
Oh, cool.
It's like an elevated Crunchwrap Supreme.
Oh, Trip would love that.
It was decadent. Okay, decadent. But I also know with that decadence, it catches up to you. So I'm going to be headed to O2 Fitness today to get that sweat in.
It does. Now, all the gym stuff you need, the Jimmy Gym stuff, yeah, they got all that.
They have all that stuff.
But physiotherapy, that's what I'm there for with my friends from Renew. And they have an unbelievable app, and they make it very easy. You're willing to try different things. We all are. But the truth of the matter is sometimes physical therapy is your best option. So check them out, o2fitnessclubs.com. They're down on the seaboard here in downtown. Very easy to get to. Trust me, there's parking there. As someone who has to park every day in downtown, anybody that has a designated parking lot downtown, they have parking. Okay. And it's free. So don't be deterred by that. They're also over in Cary as well. Cary, the golf course that I've never played, Briar Creek, Durham. They have all of their different locations.
With all the media events that have taken place at Briar Creek, you've never played?
Never played there. So
okay.
O2 Fitness, o2fitnessclubs.com. Please check them out. It is truly more than a gym.
Now, I mentioned a very decadent dinner yesterday, which means I got to not only just sweat it out, but, it probably would help if I ate better today, too. So big thanks to Happy and Hale.
Take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
The season starts this week. You will be able to find
Friday.
You will be able to find our friends at Happy and Hale.
Breaking news. Yes, they will be in the arena.
Very excited about that. Healthy options at the arena. Very key.
At the arena.
Very key. Very key.
I think they are changing what they are offering just in terms of they will have a smoothie this year.
Ooh,
as well.
I love that because I love their smoothies.
Yes.
So yeah, the hockey season starts up. Quick programming note: we'll have a different kind of conversation with Sebastian Aho tomorrow. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we might need to go back there and have a little
powwow, a little follow-up powwow.
A little follow-up.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I need to collect on my winnings as
well.
But
big thanks to Happy and Hale for being a corporate champion. Also thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. While there were some gnats and some other critters on the golf course, because hey man, it's a golf course. You know what did not happen to me while I was chilling at the 12th hole and around your parents' backyard? Chewed up. I did not get bitten up by mosquitoes. That is our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. So check them out, bugsbite.com. You can save on the inside and the outside of your home. I was disappointed in you because I was promised something from Nature's Relief on Friday.
Oh yeah, you just needed to text me to remind me. It was over at my house. We were at my parents' house, so that is my fault.
Okay, that's fine. Nature's Relief hempstore.com. Check them out online. RELEAF hempstore.com. Got into my CBD and CBD sleep gummies because with all the activity in college sports and getting worked up about things, look, man, got to kind of turn the volume on my brain down. And Nature's Relief Hemp Store has exactly that. So check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com and just ask some questions. They'll have answers for you. They'll steer you in the right direction. All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe, which is devoted to the OG Sports Phone. Ladies and gentlemen, the OG Sports Phone was popping. Very active on Saturday with the NC State and North Carolina games and some other college football stuff. So y'all did not disappoint. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all of the sports phone calls because
we can save some for tomorrow.
We can save a few for tomorrow as well. But we had enough sports phone calls that we could probably do a 2-hour podcast of just sports phone calls.
We'll just use them all week.
Maybe that's what we do. We might get more. But also, the other reason why we got so many sports phone calls is because Brian dropped a new banger.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
Do it again.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
Brian sent me two versions. Like, there's one with the whistle, one without. I'm like, no, the whistle. I need the whistle. The whistle makes it catchier. And all weekend, it's so catchy that even Kelly was like, don't you dare play that again. Don't you dare play that again.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
Must be stuck in your head all day. All right, this came in at 12:46 in the afternoon from a 910 number.
Man, there's about 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and I wanted to be upset about how State's doing, but then I saw Grayson McCall take that hit, and it was probably the scariest hit I've ever seen anybody take. But like I said, I want to be disappointed, but between everything going on out west and Grayson McCall lying there on the ground, I don't know. I'm just going to count my blessings. I'm glad I can be here and have a good time with my family. Hope you guys are doing well, and whatever happens, go Pack.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, this pretty much kind of is on the same level you had when we talked about earlier. That, at some point, man, it is what it is, man. I just don't want to. Yeah. All right, this was at the end of the game. Back to the normal business of football.
Hey guys, there's 1 minute left in the NC State Wake Forest game, and I just wanted to say, I'm just checked out on this football season. I'm done. I don't care how this ends. You can debate coaches or whatever, but I just don't give a shit anymore.
There you go. That was a pretty common refrain.
I was trying to remind my hardcore State fans, like, hey, you remember when they won the ACC tournament in March? That was cool.
That was cool, right?
Remember going to the Final Four? Like, that was awesome.
That happened this year.
Hey, and the College World Series, that was this year too.
Yeah,
so, hey, man, it's okay. If you got a punt on the football season, it's
happens,
okay.
Man. That was from an 828 number. This is from another 910 number.
Well, Dave's done it again. I'm glad that he called better plays this game, and it was very good that he did. And I'm not taking nothing away from Wake, but that's just Dave. Wake's got his number, and hopefully they'll keep having his number. I don't think we can put up with this any longer.
I mean, I am interested as to how this was like a breaking point for a lot of fans.
I didn't get that either.
I'm not quite following.
Yeah,
maybe
I didn't get it either.
Maybe people can follow up on the sports.
Yeah, if you wanted to be more mad about the Tennessee and Clemson games,
I get that.
Yeah, this one, like, I don't know.
All right. Here's this is from a 704 number.
Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller. State just turned the ball over against Wake, and it just goes back to something Giglio said on an episode a week or two ago about Doeren being a great coach whatever it was, 354 days out of the year and not on game day. It's frustrating. I understand McCall gets injured like that. It's awful, but you've had Bailey playing, and just losing the game that way is just frustrating. And I was talking with my buddy about this, and we were just talking about Robert and I and his ability to get the most out of guys. And does Dave Doeren have a problem hiring OCs? Was the last good OC we had Drinkwitz? I mean, I don't think Tim Beck was all that spectacular, and don't even get me started on Matt Canada. But it's this thing, and we talked about this with Giglio, like managing expectations and stuff, and just Doeren. It's getting really, really tiresome. Okay, thanks, guys.
There you go.
That's a familiar refrain. Yeah, it's tough to watch it, and you do have to square it. And it took me the Maryland game, the bowl game that they lost down in Charlotte, where I was like, this is not a bug. This is a feature. This is the way that he wants to play. And that it is what it is at this point in year 12. Like you can't get yourself so fired up that, as my one friend suggested to me, they wanted to tie Dave Doeren down on the train tracks. I'm like, no, let's not get
crazy here. Let's chill out on that. This is from a 919.
Hey, Joes. It's Nathan and Clayton. I just wrapped up the state game, and good Lord, I feel bad for those players, man. I felt like they gave it all they had, and Dave took it out of their hands. We got so conservative at the end of the game. We took the ball out of CJ's hands, ran ineffectively, and then that last defensive drive, I put on Dave. Your defense just put up 3 straight great plays to keep them short of sticks. You get to 4th down, and you bail Dave Clawson out and give him time to think about what to do with your own timeout. I understand that you want to get your defensive players a rest, but I feel like those boys had the momentum on their side, and we bailed them out. I feel like we're going to have a floor year this year for Dave. Not feeling it. Shout out to your sponsor, Nature's Relief, because I'm going to need it. Thanks, boys. Love the pod.
Yeah, to your point about the 12 seasons, this is from a 704 number.
12 seasons. 12. You are in your 12th year. You're up 10 in the 4th quarter, and that's how you go out. I don't understand. Where do you go from here? You can't even be mad at this point. I'm tired of being mad. It's exhausting. Watching this team is exhausting. Everything about it. It's just, I don't even know what to do at this point.
Well, it seems to be a common refrain. This is from a 336 number.
What up, OGs? Post NC State Wake game. I'm going to play 3 lies and 0 truths. Hard, tough together. Dave Doeren. That's it.
Now, I will say, Dave does not help himself with these particular decisions. So,
yeah.
NC State's down 20-16. Then they have a drive where they score a touchdown to go up 23-20. All right.
Mm-hmm.
On this particular drive, you have a 14-yard pass to Noah Rogers. You have Kendrick Raphael running for 2 yards, catching a pass for 11, running for 5 yards, running for 20 yards.
Yeah.
The rest of the game, Noah Rogers does not touch the ball. Kendrick Raphael does not touch the ball.
Yeah, man.
So why do you do this to yourself is my question. That ultimately is where he has always gotten himself into trouble, going back to year 0 when he insisted on playing Tony Creasy because he was great in practice. Meanwhile,
Joe, I'm sorry.
Meanwhile, Shadrick Thornton.
Tony Creasy.
Meanwhile, Shadrick Thornton's over there averaging 8 yards a carry. Brian Underwood's only catching touchdowns, and you're like, nah, I can't play those guys. I gotta play Tony Creasy. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, here we are in year 12. The answers, he gave you the answers to the year test in year 0. So you don't want to play Raphael after he scores you a touchdown. You got to bring in Jordan Waters for whatever godforsaken reason. That's why you get mad at Dave. The rest of the stuff, I don't know, man. It feels like a coin toss.
I think Tony, that was a pull, man. I have not thought about Tony Creasy in quite some time. All right. Enough with the state calls. There's plenty more we can get to tomorrow. I'm sure we'll get some more sports phone calls because, Joe, you can call it.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
We're all about equal time. Our guy Paul, he decided to call in at the end of the Carolina game. Let's see what he's got here.
Hey guys, it's Paul. 2 things. One, Carolina football got a pick 6 for the first time since 2019. Leave it to Carolina football to do something good, only for it to highlight something terrible. How has it been 4.5 seasons and you haven't had a pick 6? That's crazy. 2, I'm here as a Carolina fan sitting at the table to reach out an olive branch to NC State fans. Let's call a truce. Both of our teams are terrible. Let's just not talk any shit until the last game of the season, which will hereforth be known as the Toilet Bowl. Peace.
Print the shirts, Joe. 2024 State Carolina Toilet Bowl in Keenan. Cannot wait to get my ringer tee. Should arrive next week. I'm very excited about this. You've made us proud, NC State and Carolina football. You've made us proud.
It was a different time.
It was a different time. Yeah, it's called collegiate licensing. It hadn't kicked in yet, so you could do whatever the hell you wanted with the mascots. Can you imagine if those? I mean, we probably have our Wolfpack Ain't for Soft People T-shirt already done by now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for today's show. Trust me, we were bombarded with sports phone calls. We'll bring a few more out tomorrow, along with any other kind of updates we get between State and Carolina. We will see you then.